Okay, so last week we began we began something for our fellow traders, whereby we are going to be profiling the market for the major pairs that are normally traded for the forex side. And we can also look at maybe an instrument or something else, which we can also use the same methodology to profile the market. So I hope you can hear, all of you can hear me clearly. If you have any concern, just type in your chat area and it's going to be easy that way. So we can start with pound dollar. So last week, we just went to put our weekly overview because we want a bigger picture view. So our bigger picture view from last week, remember we looked at these two balances here. And we said we shall use it to confirm what is going to likely happen in the following week. So this entire week just ended. And what happened was we were looking for areas of value, for areas of balance between buyers and sellers, and to determine if we're still remaining in those areas, retesting other areas, or we're going for price discovery. So last week, this is what we had. The 5 days gave us this distribution here. So we saw that we had broken out of that value. So usually when we move out of value, it is to discover new prices. We call that price discovery. And we can see that after the breakout, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So on the breakout, if we add a profile to see what was happening on this breakout from this value, we saw from last week that we had price discovery whereby value was being generated down here. So we had highlighted this area of value, and we were waiting to see how this opening week we're going to interact with this area. So let's just highlight the rectangle there. So this was new price discovery or an area of new value. So we don't need this anymore. Now, coming to Monday, so this day here, we saw that we traded in this previous value that was created. We retested the lower boundaries, and right here, this is where we took our buys for those who are in our hub. So this is where we took our buys because we saw that with confirmation of order flow, there was no longer interest to move outside this new price discovery. So we were targeting at least the boundary edges, and after them breaking out, the obvious area that we were going to test was the previous weekly distribution. And right there at the value area low, that is where we failed 3 times. So we call this a triple top. So this kept showing that we no longer wanted to go back to the previous value. So obviously we're going to come back to the discovered area of value. So now, this is what happened. So eventually during the course of the week, so let's see how these different profiles moved over the course of the week. So we can go back to the sessionals. We saw that during the course of the week, after the rejection of this area here, we broke out of this value and we started discovering new value areas below, which is different from exactly what we saw on Monday. So come So on Wednesday, this was the confirmation that we were accepting value lower, which eventually got rejected, and we kept on moving lower and lower and lower. So now coming to this week, we can just see the weekly overview to see where we are and what we can expect. So we're going to hit this. And now we have a weekly overview. So with the weekly overview, what we can see is from our previous week, from this previous distribution and our previous value area that was created there. And this was a composite of 3 weeks because the value areas are being overlapped. So this I explained in the previous video. So coming to this week, we can see the week has broken lower and we have discovered new value below the previous week's value area. So now this week, what we have is this. And as you can see, the value areas do not overlap. They are different from each other. So you can see that week and this composite and here, 2 different things. So this is a confirmation that we have discovered new values below. So this is this week's profile. We can also highlight the volume point of control. So we can give it a different color just to help us remember that we are dealing with the value point of control and color. So this is the weekly distribution of pound. Now we can see even after new value was created during the course of the week, we can see we have completely broken outside the value area that we have created during the week. So we can see we have closed way below the value area. So in this case, we shall have to bring back our sessional profiles and see how value has been created at the low areas, lower than this previous weekly value area. So now what we have here is we have below this weekly value area, we have a volume point of control and we have a value area low. So we have what we call virgin points. So this is the virgin point of control hasn't been tested, and this is the virgin value area low there. So these have not been retested. So let's give it also a different color, just for purposes of understanding what you're dealing with. So at these 2 points, this, if I bring back my weekly overview, at this point, what we have is we have areas that are virgin. So we have this volume point of control and we have the value area low. These are a virgin. And if we were to look for volume distribution in the cumulative sense, we have some sort of the volume node here, a small volume node right there. I don't know how significant this is going to be, but it's still a node. So, and you can see from this value node, this is where you got that resistance for the continuation. So if you can find any other node down here, this is the latest right here. So here is the latest value node. So this one is not necessarily because we have been transacted. So coming to the following week, so coming on Monday, we shall have areas of interest. So because we can see from the weekly overview on the pound dollar, we have broken outside value, but we have virgin points which have not been retested. And we also have a high volume node area right there. That is the most recent, which was resisting price to go below. So coming Monday, if you're going to get a retest of this area here, if it fails to hold, then we are long to retest these areas. More confirmation in order flow to retest these virgin points and eventually to retest the boundaries of the weekly volume value area distribution. So on pound, these are the points which are going to tell us what to expect coming the next week. Are we going to continue with price discovery because already we have closed below value? So this is already in balance. This is price discovery. So we shall be anticipating for pullbacks to continue short, or if we get a change of character, then we know where we are going to get our movements to. So this is the analysis on pound. And in here you can also add your own analysis and your technicals and everything to help you get more confidence to what is likely to happen. So in this case, let's just put a line there. And there. And we don't want too many lines. So it's too much for you. You can always limit the lines, but I'm putting this for purposes of those who maybe will not trade with volume broker to understand these points. Okay. So this is the value very low, and this is the value point of control. So we can also give it a bit of color. These are the margin points, and this is the area between the points. So if we get confirmation, let's say we break here, get more confirmations, we have a significant area to go and retest long. So we shall see how this develops during the course of the week. So that is on pound. I've spent enough time on pound so that when it comes to other pairs, I don't need to explain too much. So again, weekly overview for our large picture context. So there. And we can start with the previous week where we had uploaded this and we had discussed this last week. So same thing, so that we had value area, value there, and we discovered new value down here, moved out, went back and retested the same level, resisted, and we came back to value. So last week, what happened is we saw that we had closed within the boundaries of the value area, and we had closed right above the volume control. So on Monday, right here, if I can just highlight its profile, just show you what happened. So on Monday, what happened was we still traded within these value area boundaries. And what was of note was when we tried to move outside, we kept being resisted. So this happened on Monday. We got this value area right there. We got the value area boundary right there, which held up to Tuesday and eventually broke out, retested and failed. We went back. So coming on euro, we traded Monday, Tuesday, within the confines of this weekly value area, and some part of Wednesday until we eventually broke out. Now we can just pull the sessional profiles just to show you how it developed day to day. So we can see that on Monday we created value. So this value area within previous week's value area. On Tuesday, we got again more value within the weekly value area. However, what was of note was these two value areas have an overlap, and we want distinctive value areas because we want to understand areas of value. So we join these two. What we have now is we had a value area low right there, as you can see, rejected. A value area high, the volume point of control. So what happened here on Tuesday, we closed at the value area low of the 2-day composite, the Monday and Tuesday. So coming on Wednesday, this level in respect to our weekly value area was very crucial, right there. And we can see that come Monday, we opened and kept distributing lower, meaning that they no longer wanted to go back to this 2-day composite. And obviously our first target would be to right there and to spot if there's any form of price continuation. So when we came, we took this sell up to here, the order flow kept showing that we still want to go down. So this was a breakout of the previous week that we had analyzed. Okay. And as we know that every action needs to be confirmed or denied in the subsequent first action. So that's the subsequent first action, and it's confirming that we no longer want to come back to this weekly value. So that being said, let's just go back to our weekly overview. I hope you've seen what happened for you to have spotted how to have traded the weekly value area and the subsequent price discovery. So on euro, what we have now is something like this. So we can see that this week, starting Monday to Friday, we can see we are creating a value area right there. And again, this value area is some sort of an overlap to this previous value area. So if we are to look at this in proper view, you will see that this week still also had some overlaps within this composite and also this value area. So we are having a very large overlap in euro. So what we can do is we can simply combine everything. So let's see what that's going to look like. So this week, the previous week, this current week. Let's see if we can get something definitive. Now, we have combined this entire composite right there, or others can decide to just combine this and that. But because of all these overlaps, I would suggest that we can just look at it in its entirety. Okay. So this means that this has now changed. So we no longer have that. And what now we have is we have a new value area. So let me just okay. So now what we have is we have a composite that has how many weeks in it? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks. So this is an entire month. And even if we bring up a monthly chart on euro, on the euro dollar, we should be having something similar. So let's highlight the value area boundaries. So we have that value area high, this value area low. We can just extend it and see there. We also highlight the volume point of control. It would be right in here. Right there. Same process. Let's give it a color. That will be our monthly. So this is now a monthly. This is now a monthly body area. Because you can see 5 weeks in between. So in the euro dollar, we're getting the same thing as we saw in pound, whereby we are in a total bearish price discovery. So you can see from our previous composite weekly value, we broke out of it, again formed value, which eventually, let me just put it aside. So now we can look at it in a much bigger context. So we broke out of this value, created value for a significant amount of time. So this would be 1 to 3 weeks. We were just creating value in here. At some point, it became unfair to sellers, so we got we broke out of it, we tested, and bulls were still in control. Now, what happened is they failed to come back to retest, to transact within previous value. So our previous value would be this to 8 lines. We can see we have been resistant at the value area low and the volume point of control, which are practically almost around the same area. And this is what twice, we get it twice being refused. So from here, we come back into value, again transact, where this week ended. And now coming to this previous week, again, broke out, retested the value area low, refused, and now we are in a bearish price discovery. So because we're in a bearish price discovery, now this value area has already been accounted for here. We can just do the same thing we did in pound. We can just pull the sessional to see what is happening during the price discovery. So we're going to look for value areas that are below the weekly point. So you can see on this Friday, Thursday, Wednesday. So on Wednesday, we have a distinctive value area down here, which we broke out from, tested, rested in there. Come Thursday, we get, this looks to have an overlap. So yes, there's an overlap in here, very slight overlap. So we can just see what that did. These 2 days. Yes, so Friday, again, Friday was a simple day because if you combine this, you saw this rejection right here, you definitely know that we're still selling off. So these 2 days on Thursday and Wednesday, we have a composite right there, and we are rejected. So we're still in that current momentum. So if we see, you can see we broke out of this and we have discovered again new value down here that is completely different and distinctive. So when we are coming to Monday. Now this is next week. We shall just look at this value area here. Now, because these are sessional based, I will just try and give them different coloring so that I don't confuse it with my weekly value area. You can see we also have this 2 day composite. It looks like too much, but it's not. So again, we have a 2-week composite. I mean 2 day composite, sorry. Right there. And we can give, of course, we have to highlight their volume points of control. Three, give it a color. I don't know, should be this red. And in here, a value area low, value area high. Let's see what that looks like right there. So in euro, also the same thing. But in this case, we are getting 2 areas. We shall see this in detail when I go out of it. So again, let's give it a color. So here we were looking at, because we had broken out of the, when we looked at the weekly, we saw that we are just moving down. So we want to know this movement down, what is happening. So we go back to our weekly, come for next week. What is happening is in the contextual, in our context, we have broken outside the weekly value. We discovered new value right here, a new value right here. But what is of note is when we are trying to understand value, value means there has to be equal transactions from the lows to the highs, from the highs to the lows. This is what creates value. But when we look at euro, these previous points, this is not value. It's one-sided. Okay. So instead of calling this a value area, we can simply look for a level, because this looks very bare, it's not value. So when we look at our composite, you can see that right around here, this is where sellers again came in and pushed the market lower. So instead of value, we have a high volume area. So this is not a value area, it is simply a high volume area which was of interest to sellers to continue pushing price lower. And as you can see, it's coincides with the volume area control. So we are not going to call this the value area because, as we have noted, there was no equal transactions called value. It's not value, it's simply volume. So usually when it's this way, we want to highlight the volume point of control. And this is simply a high volume area of selling. Right there. When we also look at the previous area, let's see, we had up move, down move. We tried to go back up and we got resisted right there. We moved down. So looking at this, this is value because you can see from the beginning, we have moved from the highs, we went to the lows. From the lows, we again came back to the highs. From the highs, we came to the lows. Right there, we tried again to come all the way to the high, but rejected eventually to the seller. So this is more of a value area compared to this. So coming next week on euro, what we are dealing with is we have a high volume area of selling right here. So if Monday we get that distribution, which are, and it's bullish, we shall be bullish to this point, where we expect maybe selling to come in. If they fail, then we shall go back to this previous value area. And of course, we know how to work with value areas. We shall look for the reversion trends and possibly a retest for that area. So that is the weekly overview of euro. So those are the two pairs that we have analyzed today. On my right, I have the pound, on my left, I have the euro. So for all volume profile traders, I hope we have the same things. If you have anything different, of course, feel free to discuss. But euro and pound, this is what you should be having. So unless there is a question or there is a comment, I will give you like 5 minutes so that you can end this. And let others who want to join us to be able to identify YouTube. So if you have any comment or any query, just write in your chat box and I can just quickly look at it and we can call it a day. So 5 minutes. So one of you has asked if around 0.9950, so 0.99, this would be euro, was pound is still in one. So let's see, if around 0.9950, 0.9950, right here. So if around this price, we see prices already balanced, do you think the price will have to go to that area? Now, the only way to confirm anything is footprints, okay? Because much as we say that, remember what we have done is an overview of value and profiling. Now, at this point, for example, let's say on Monday, we're getting a level that looks bullish. Of course, we shall have to pull our footprints to confirm that we are going along here. And of course, when we arrive here, much as this is a selling area, we might find a lot of sell absorption instead of sell aggression. How do we know? Again, footprints to confirm that we are now going still bullish. For as much as it's just an area, it can all be absorbed. It's simply volumes. So I can't tell you exactly that when we reach here, so 0.995, I don't think it's that significant, but I would think that your question should be here at 0.99415 because it's the volume point of control of this 2-day composite that we saw right here. And of course, your value areas need to be confirmed to be truly value. So there should be movement from up, down, down, up. That is value. One direction, that's not value, it is simply volume. So we see price already balanced. Do you think the price will have to go to that area? I can't give an answer. Price can as well bounce here and we continue price discovery. We might not even come to retest any of these levels. Again, price can do this, come back all the way to previous values. And if it is very bullish, of course, the only way is to, again, follow your fundamentals we are likely to continue being bullish all the way again to previous. So we don't know what's going to happen unless we are there seeing what is happening. So what we usually do is now we have this analysis and we keep updating as it's moving. So when we are at these levels, we just discuss them and we see what's happening and we take those trades. So maybe your question, we shall see how it's going to develop over the course of the week, Mr. Jackson. Okay. Any other question before the wrap up? Okay, since there is a question, feel free to contact us if you maybe you're still thinking of the question. By the way, here we said this was a high volume node. We should highlight it too. So this is the last bearish node on pound that is bringing some sort of initiation. So you can see the sellers are putting in more volumes here to continue pushing price. So if we come here and they fail, we know where we're going. Okay. Of course, we shall again date this. So someone knows on 6B, the Friday session of the A overlapped Thursdays. I think you should redraw it to 6B. So let's see Friday. So Friday overlap with Thursdays. So Friday and Thursday. Now, I don't know, maybe you came in late, but I explained this in the beginning, whereby we are not making an overview based on sessionals. We are doing an overview on the weekly bias. So what do I mean? Because I've already spoken about this, let me just quickly recap on it. So what we mean here is we've simply drawn the weekly value points, the weekly value areas. And we can see we have that value area broke down, new value area, keep discovering prices lower. Okay. Now, I would have redrawn this if I wanted to see what's going on in the sessional side. But what you can see is just based on the weekly, we have closed way below value. So I am interested because I want to know if something is outside value, then it means it is searching for new value. So I am only interested to see what is happening from below the value area low, because this is where we have the breakout and we are continuing in this direction. So to answer your question, when I come back to the sessional, because now the sessional is going to show us the day-to-day approach. The day-to-day approach, we can see what is below the weekly value area low of the week that has just ended. We have a virgin point of control, we have a virgin value area low, and we have some distribution here of high volume that is bearish. So I'm not redrawing Thursday and Friday because it's irrelevant based on the weekly. What is relevant is what is below here to tell me what is happening during the course of this price discovery. And during the course of the price discovery, we can clearly see naked, value area low, volume point of control, and the high volume node. I hope I've answered your question, Mr. Tang. Would you mind review gold? Gold of late has been, let's see, this time it's going to. So gold, I don't know, it's the servers or something, but it's been weird. I don't know why it's not. Let's see if we're going to get something. So with gold, this is what has been happening to me. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep this in mind. I'll get my technical person to work on this. So when this happens, I can just quickly do a review on gold, then I'll just upload it. So you can always, Mr. Pin, deliver in all our groups. So you can have your own analysis, or you can share it elsewhere. It's also okay. So I will have to see why it's happening. That's why I'm not done it. But I'll get time. Okay, let's just round up. Thank you for those who joined. We keep doing this every Saturday, 12 to 1 p.m. GMT +3. It's also going to be on YouTube and all our groups. Feel free to review, to comment, or anything that you want. And let's keep trading. And I wish you a good weekend and a happy trading week ahead. Thank you.